the Detroit Lions last night taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to wrap up week number 7 with a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. The Seattle Seahawks take care of business against the Houston Texans. Later on, we'll hit that in an hour number 3 of this show. But as for the Detroit Lions, you know I love talking about them. You know I love talking about them after a win because I chose them to win the NFC at the end of the day. And I like being right. I like being proven correct.
You mentioned that.
It's one of my favorite things. But if I'm wrong, I'll raise my hand and say, hey, I'm off. And at the end of the day, you know, they're not even in the top 2. They're not even leading their division right now. Believe it or not, through 7 weeks of the NFC campaign, the 4-1-1 Green Bay Packers are currently your 1 seed, with the 5-2 aforementioned San Francisco 49ers sitting there. And then you've got the Eagles leading the NFC East at 5-2, and the Buccaneers now at 5-2 with that loss last night in Detroit. They lead their division in the NFC South. And right now, the Lions are sitting in at 5-2, and the 5 seed, kind of like, you know, the team that they put in that position last year, the Minnesota Vikings. If you recall that last game of last year, Lions had a chance to win the conference, win the division, win the conference in the final game of the season against the Vikings. They did so, and the Vikings became a 14-win wild card team that got one and done here in Los Angeles. I set all that up to say is that the Lions don't want to be in the position of the Minnesota Vikings at the end of the day, which is top wild card team. And last night, they took a large step towards not being that, even though they are right now through 7 weeks. That's because they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the only at the time 5-1 team in the conference. And they beat them up. And they not only beat them up, they took care of business on defense with, once again, stop me if you've heard this story before, speaking of last season, half their defense on the back end out due to injury. Or in the case of Brian Branch, suspended because he slapped at Juju Smith-Schuster after the Kansas City Chiefs game last week in the loss in Arrowhead that kind of lingered into this game as well on the Amon-Ra St. Brown front. I'll get to that in a second. But the defense getting it done against the, in my estimation, coming into week 7, clear MVP through the first 6 weeks of the season in Baker Mayfield. They were all over him. The pass rush was getting home. And when the pass rush wasn't getting home, the back end of the defense, with names that you don't really hear very much being mentioned. Robertson, Arthur Millette. You don't hear that name a lot, but you certainly did when he ripped the ball out of the hands, I believe, of Cade Otton when it was resting on his shoulder, coming up with an interception last night. Robertson forced a fumble. Nick Whiteside, some key pass breakups for the Detroit Lions. And that's it. Once again, excellent coaching and deep rostering can win a day. And last night against a 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that had just gotten Mike Evans back before losing him for the rest of the season. We'll talk about that later on. No Bucky Irving. They do have Ibuka. They don't have Godwin. Mayfield is down some parts, but he could not get past a Lions defense that was getting home with a pass rush with a terrific front seven, and then a bunch of guys who's needs the name tags for the Ford Field faithful last night. So they don't have their coordinators from last year. That's supposed to be a problem. They don't have a lot of their top-ranked players on the back end of their defense. That's supposed to be a problem. Jahmyr Gibbs takes care of it. Sets a career high with 218 scrimmage yards. Most by a Detroit player in a game since... Anybody? Bueller? Nope. Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin.
Week 8, 2013. He had 329 yards from scrimmage.
Jeez.
It's insane. But 218 scrimmage yards, $136 on the ground, 82 in the air. First player with 130 more rush yards and 80 or more receiving yards in a game since Saquon Barkley in 2019. You thought he did it twice against the Rams last year, didn't you?
I was about to say.
No, it was in 2019. The only Lions players with 200 or more scrimmage yards in a primetime game now are named Jahmyr Gibbs and the two guys you mentioned, TJ.
Okay, Barry and Calvin.
That's correct, sir. And Barry was there last night.
It's a good list to be on.
Right.
78-yard rushing touchdown was the longest of his career.
Yeah. It felt good to have him in fantasy.
And then Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Sun God.
Now, again, remember when I came on the air on Tuesday, 1 week ago today, talking about the loss in Kansas City for the Lions, that game turned on a 4th down attempt on just inside the Kansas City portion of the 50. Okay? And they go for it in the second quarter of that game, and Goff and Amon-Ra can't connect. The Chiefs then hop on the football, score right before halftime, score right after halftime, and that game completely flipped. Well, you heard Joe Buck and Troy Aikman say over and over again in the first quarter of that game, of last night, that Amon-Ra St. Brown had steam coming out of his ears all week long, that he sent a text to Goff apologizing for not catching the ball, and Goff responded by essentially saying, hey, man, I didn't put the ball completely on you either. And Buck was saying all week long the Lions organization was saying they can't wait to see what Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to do when he gets back on the field. And sure enough, 6 catches for 86 yards and the receiving touchdown to start it all off before Gibbs ripped it all off after that. Amon-Ra St. Brown leads the NFL with 7 receiving touchdowns this year now. So Amon-Ra's doing his thing. The defense is doing its thing. And if Jahmyr Gibbs continues to do his thing, you're going to see the Lions win a lot more. And it appears the head coach believes it's only just the beginning for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Felt like this was coming. You felt like that this has been building, and as he gets in better shape and starts getting his feet under him, starts getting a feel of it, starts breaking some tackles, you just feel like every week it's gotten closer and closer. And tonight was the night where he busted one of these out of there, and there'll be no looking back. I mean, I think he's just going to continue to do this. So our O-line did a good job, in areas of getting into the second level. Certainly, we got to continue to improve there. But, man, that's all you got to do. If you can get him to the second level, he'll do the rest. And we're fortunate because our O-line can open some holes, and we have receivers that block. So the rest is up to him one-on-one with the safety.
Yep. That said, +1, all of it. No Kirby Joseph out with a knee. No Terrion Arnold out with a shoulder. No G.J. Reed. He's on IR. Brian Branch suspended, as I mentioned. Baker Mayfield, a 66.1 passer rating anyway. 4 sacks, 20 quarterback pressures, 12 passes defensed. That's the most by a Lions team in 23 years. That's what they did last night. Highly impressive W. Yeah. For sure. In all of that regard. You remember also, too, just quick before we throw the break, and Albert Breer is going to join us. Remember when Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted?
Yeah, people questioned why
did they ever?
Took a back that high, yeah.
Dude, especially since they already had
David Montgomery.
Knuckles.
Yep.
Why do you need a Sonic when you already got Knuckles? Certainly when you spend that money in free agency. And all I heard that night, from that Thursday night of the draft to the Friday, from a bunch of my guys on the set and from behind the scenes elsewhere, all I heard is the Lions jumped the line on a ton of teams on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. You told us that.
They jumped the line on a ton of teams on Jahmyr Gibbs. And boy, do the Lions look smart. Another guy that they drafted in the first round that everyone was questioning was one of our glue guys, Jack Campbell out of Iowa.
All right.
How's he looking right now? So
on that 70-yard touchdown, Chris, he just ran straight up the gut. And it was the first time in a while someone that's reminded me of Chris Johnson. Remember those Chris Johnson runs where Gus would just yell, speed, because there was nothing else to say? That's what that run was like.
Well, Jared Goff was talking about that run after the game, and if you could see in the replay, he put his hands up like touchdown, like Lane Kiffin back in the day when he was calling plays for Alabama. Roll it.
Those long ones are fun to watch, and I feel like I got the best seat in the house just to see him hit the hole and then just take off. And I don't know how many safeties in the league could catch him. So as soon as he gets there, it's over. He's gone. And it felt like last year the Titans run, the 70-yard run, it was very similar, where it's just like him on the safety and it's over. But yeah, it's pretty cool. He's dang fast, and it's fun to watch.
They have a bye now, so all of those defenders can come back from either suspension or injury. We'll see what happens. Yeah. And then after that, home game with Minnesota at Washington. Who the heck knows what's going on with them, right? Before a Sunday night visit to Philadelphia. What a big, huge game in the NFC standings that is going to be. Before they finish up on Thanksgiving against Green Bay. Following week against Dallas, they visit the Rams out here. Another big game in the NFC. The rest of their division matchups around a home date with an Aaron Rodgers visit back to Detroit. That's some fun, must-see television with the Detroit Lions playing like this and Dan Campbell just being as entertaining as ever, coaching his ass off, and his team just being full of grit. Fun stuff. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.